Greetings everyone. So we decided to take a field trip inside of the dining room of the garage. Well, of the house. So, and you hear a garage dog making all kinds of noise in the background. But, what we are going to do today is we're going to make a planter stand. Now I have some 1-inch tubing, I have some 1-inch angle, and I have some cedar. I believe it's 8 feet. It's a 1x8. No, wait, it's a 1x12 that's 8 feet long. There we go. So hopefully between all that, we should have enough what we need. So this is what my drawing is. Now, I believe that in order to really get anything done like this, you do have to have a drawing. Just because this is like my 3rd time drawing it. Every time it seems to get a little bit different. It's mainly cost savings. Bad to say, but it is. Originally there's going to be 2 posts that connect with one possibly in the center, but then that literally doubled the amount of product I was going to have to buy, and also the wood. And this is kind of a surprise anyway, and maybe it will go well, maybe it won't, I don't know. And distortion might become a real big problem the more complicated it gets, because once you start welding, distortion gets to be a little rough. But this is my plan. On the bottom I have 1-inch tubing. Okay, anyway, so on the bottom there's 1-inch tubing. It's 2 feet on both sides, 1 foot connecting, so it's basically a rectangle. And then that's going to be connected to a 4 foot by 1 foot also rectangle made out of the same tubing. That's just going to be welded directly on top of each other. That way the piece of wood can, I'm not sure if I really want to put wood down here, to be honest, because I just don't really want to. But if I do, I'll have to put like these little feet on the bottom corner. Maybe some rubber, who knows. I'll kind of look at it once I get it to that point, and if I do, it's not going to be that hard. I have some extra, just 1-inch flat piece of, I think just steel. Can't remember exactly what it is, but I can just cut it to little pieces and weld it on the bottom, and they'll have a base for the wood to attach. But, so we have the basic shape. Now, some of the plants here are a tad tall, and this is for Miss PNW, since she likes her plants. So I didn't want to have really small sections, so I decided to stagger it. Originally I was going to have them on both sides, and I was going to have 8, but then that would only really be good for a very select amount of plants. So now it's going to have 1 foot up, 1 foot outside, 1 foot on the side, 1 foot on the side. So that should be 1, 2, 3, 4 feet. So hopefully that should be good. And the top is just going to have one weld directly to the top. This hopefully will provide some stability. The actual shelves are just going to be angle iron with the angle facing down, so the wood will just rest on top of it. I might drill a hole in the center just to add 1 or 2 mounting screws to the wood. I'm not 100% sure if I want to do that. Just to keep it clean, I would have to countersink it if I did. But like I said, we'll come to that point if we get to that point. But, so that's about it. I bought a new chop saw, and I'm going to be cutting out all these. So basically how this is going to work is this is going to be just a normal cut, and then on the insides it's also just going to be a normal 90-degree cut. They're just going to be welded directly in. I kind of thought about angling them. That might look better. In fact, when saying it out loud right now, I think I probably will just do a 45. Okay, you got me. So 45-degree cuts. See, this is why having a picture is always good to do, and talking it out. So 45-degree cuts all around. That way it just is a lot cleaner. And on this one, let's see here. This one I think I'm not going to. I'm just going to attach. I might not even need this piece, to be honest. I mean, it's not like it's really there for rigidity. Because if I didn't, then I could just weld it directly on top. And not like making a 40-degree cut is hard. That's not my point. I'm just trying to see if what would be best. Because if I weld it directly on top, that might add a little bit more stability than just welding it to the side. But then if I weld it to the side, I can have that as kind of more of a base as well. But then these aren't 1 feet pieces. They still could, it just wouldn't really look as good. So, okay. I'll have to do some thinking, but my idea of how it's going to start is this. First, I need to make a whole lot of cuts, but I'm not going to touch the angle iron at all. First, I'm going to weld up and cut the base. That's going to be pretty easy. I believe it's a 6-foot section, so hopefully that should just be enough for this whole bottom, and just weld it up. I'm probably not going to show the cutting because it's just cutting metal, but I'll put a couple videos of the welding part of it. Now, I'm talking about distortion. Because metal gets hot and it expands, and then once it cools, it contracts. That process I've noticed, and after doing research, granted, like I said, not a welder, can cause a lot of warping, and I don't really want that. So a good way to counter that apparently is to weld on opposite ends. That way it can kind of counteract each other. So I'll probably weld on the top and the bottom on each side, and then if I feel like it's really necessary, I might just do a weld on the inside. I don't think I'll do a weld on the outside. If I do need to, I can, but that's probably going to result in definite cleanup or grinding. But if it's better for stability, then might as well. Or if there's a big hole or gash in there, and I just need to fill it, then that's another reason why I would do that. So I'm going to go ahead and get this cut, get it cleaned. That's probably going to take me a good section of an hour, and because I'm barely ready. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then we will get this started. So after getting everything welded at this angle, I cut a 45-degree. That way they can make little boxes. So I make 4 of them. That's 1, 2, 3, 4 groups here. And then that's going to go on the sides, but I'll show that later. So I'm just going to weld those up, bring it back. Okay, so it is cut, cleaned, at least the bases. I have these little magnets on it to kind of hold it in place. I'm going to put a tack in the middle of each corner and just kind of make sure that it's good to go. Do the same thing for each side so I could take off the metal magnets because they are a little hard to weld around. And I'll show you the final result. Got everything welded, so now there's the base. Everything else. So now I'm just trying to make a whole bunch of squares out of L. So I got the last 2 of them ready. I figured I might as well show. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tack it first in the corners, opposite corners of each. I like to do it all at the same time just to prevent gas wasting. This particular machine has a fairly large unresettable post gas, so I try to do it as fast as possible. Sometimes I get it, sometimes I don't, but you know, if I could save a little bit, I can. Anyway, everything's clean. I ground everything down on the bench wheel so the corners are tight. So the plan, the first one I did, I used on one of them 3/32 filler rod. I didn't really like it because it's too thick, so then I did a 1/16 filler rod. It was okay, but then the next one I used no filler rod, and it actually looks the best. So that's what I'm going to be doing. It's not as strong of a weld, but it's going to be holding a plant, so I can't imagine it's going to be too heavy, especially these plants. They're pretty lightweight, not necessarily a jungle plant. So yeah, go ahead and get set up, and then we will get welding. All prepped, got my gear on, gloves, helmet, gas is on. It's set about 12 CFH. I can turn it to 80 amps. It's a little loud, so beware. DC, nothing special, no pulse or anything. Let's do this. It's weekend now, so I have some time to work on this again. I got all 4 of those done, and I decided to change the plans. 1 is going to be on top, and 3 alternating on the sides. Just gonna clean up the weld a little bit. Just gonna weld the top on, clean it up, and after that I should be ready for paint. I got 2 of them done. This is the last one. I'm only doing the sides and the bottom. I'm gonna check for strength, but it's gonna be a little hard to see the top, so I'm trying to avoid seeing the welds. So pretty sure it's doing pretty good. I mean, they're pretty solid. I might do the inside too, but let me go ahead and get this started. So it's done. I just have to paint it. I don't think I'm going to show that. It's just going to be black paint. I'm going to put a primer down on it. A couple things I want to show. I did grind down the weld. I also put little feet because on the bottom we're putting like a square piece of wood. It's going to be about 10 inches. So the width of it going this way is I believe 10 1/4, and then going up I believe is 10 inches. These are just simply 10 by 10. All in all, I think the only thing that I can kind of see wrong here is I think it might be a tad warped like this. I don't know if that's from welding these on the sides and it being a little off. I'm not really sure. I don't think so. It could just be a actual base right here, or the supporting structure right here. But other than that, no, it's pretty good. The wood I'm not going to show because I just want to show off like the metal part of it. It's not that hard to, you know, stain wood, but it's going to be basically a fairly mild stain, and then some polyurethane on top of that to protect the wood. It's going to be out of cedar. Why cedar? It's because I have it. But you can tell there's the first, second, third, and then the top one is done there. I apparently did not clean the surface of this one very well because there's this weird little nipple on there. But other than that, I think it's doing pretty good. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. I think the hardest part is just the prep work of all the cuts. Like, you would not believe the cuts on these types of things. All the times you end up watching YouTube channels and they end up making something look very simple and easy, and then you never quite see the behind the work. This is one of those additions to that category. It definitely was a pain. All in all, it took me about maybe 4.5 hours because I didn't have, I had to set up my chop saw to allow a different type of angle. It's a big confusing reason why they put, anyway, that's not the point. So after spending about a good half an hour reconfiguring the saw, the rest of it was pretty straightforward. The only thing I would say is save yourself the trouble and just make sure when you are welding these together that you really make sure they fit nicely, because if you don't, there will be a fairly significant gap. Luckily for me, the one gap I did have is in there. You can't really tell because I welded that part to the actual structure. Now, I put a weld on the bottom. I shoved that, kind of, and a weld on the side. I ground the weld on the side down as much as I could to kind of make it a little more even. Because I am painting it, so I want to be as smooth as possible. I took, I believe, a whiz wheel. No, what was it? Flapper disc. And I just scraped off all the mill scale and everything I could from the actual structure and make sure it's as clean as possible. I didn't wipe the whole thing down with acetone. I just mainly used the wheel, and then I'm going to paint it. Primer first and then paint, like I said, so whatever color you want to do that to. But other than that, I like it. I think it's a nice little addition. Originally this one was going to be just like these, except on this side, but I like it. I think I like the idea of it being on top, and it kind of adds a little more sturdiness to it once you actually have a plant on there, and you could put a pretty tall plant if you need to. But anyway, if anyone likes this a lot and you just want to have some general, if we have any general questions on it, message me below. I can give you any specifics you want on it. Everything was just mild steel. 80 amps for the welds right here. I believe it was 60 amps for the welds of these squares. For the tubing, I believe is also, I think it was 75 amps on that one. All DC, nothing fancy. About 12 CFH. I was using a number 8 cup. The only reason why I was even doing that is because I had the door open and I wanted a little more space to put some stuff, and yeah, mainly just because of that. If you had your door closed like it is now, you could probably get away with a whole lot less, but I wasn't too concerned about it. Weld time, I want to say like maybe one of these takes like 2 minutes, 3 minutes. I think the longest part is just kind of doing the detail work, like welding the sides up, and once you weld the bottom of the actual square, and then first you tack it, then you weld the bottom, and then you want to clean it up. That's probably the longest part of it, is just cleaning it up, because that, I think, oddly enough, took me longer to do. I'm not quite sure why. But yet again, I want to point this out. I am not a welder. This is a project that I think a beginner can do, and I say that because that is exactly what I am. So if I can do it, I'm sure you can. I'm going to be doing another project, a little preview. I bought a switch. Mine didn't come with one, and I think it will be a lot more useful in areas where having a foot pedal, such as that one, it's just a little more difficult when I'm standing and having to kind of like lean down almost. Yeah, I'm just going to leave it at that. I have a knee thing, and it's a giant pain, so that switch I'm hoping is going to be a good addition to the TIG welder. Okay, if you like what you see, put a thumbs up. If you have any questions, put a question in the comments below. If you have anything to say, please leave in the comments below. But definitely subscribe. I'll be doing a couple more of these, and hopefully this works out. And yet again, I want to show I'm not a welder, but this is a welding project I think anyone can do, like I said before, because I did it. Is it perfect? No. Most definitely not. There are areas where I know I messed up. If I had to redo it, I would probably do a couple of the areas a little bit differently. But having said that, coming out to how well this project came out, I'm happy with it, so I'm not going to be too worried about it. It's tiny things like this that irritates me, but there's going to be a wood piece on top of it, so it's not going to be too noticeable. And not many people I know that are going to be looking at the bottom of it are going to be 2 feet tall. So, and even if they are, they're probably 3 years old, and they won't know the difference. I'm rambling. I'll catch everyone later. See you in the next project.